doing my video brief on an article called The Relationship Between Attitudes of Multicultural Education and Perceptions Regarding the Cultural Effect of Globalization. So this article is a study that explores the connection between teacher candidates' perception of cultural effects on globalization and then their attitudes towards multicultural education. They do this through a functionalist lens. They took a survey of 213 teachers, and it also revealed a positive relationship between the perceptions of globalization and then their attitudes towards multicultural education, with variation based on the high school an individual attended when they were younger. The study advocates for the inclusion of multiculturalism and globalization in teacher training programs. So multicultural education is a form of education that fosters a respect for differences and operates without discrimination. Globalization is a result of transforming attitudes and behaviors from increasing quality of life, increased openness, setting new goals, and seeking out wonder in order to shape new global culture. Globalization emphasizes progress and open-mindedness and creates a change in the perception of education. Education plays a crucial role in preparing individuals for a globalized world. So this globalization inspires a universal mindset that focuses on adapting to society changes and embracing new ideas, and the shift impacts education systems globally, creating a universal approach to learning. And this multicultural education aims to provide equal opportunities for students from various backgrounds, emphasizing respect for differences to create a more inclusive school environment. In order to do this, we need to educate teachers on multicultural education, and it's crucial in order to promote diversity, prepare future educators like us for a globalized society. Some of these studies that they were basing their study off of found that there are difficulties in terms of defining multiculturalism, as some teachers define it as race, religion, language, as well as social class, while a lot of them actually ignore gender, age, and disability when it comes to multiculturalism. So their research in the article seeks to understand how teacher candidates like us perceive globalization and the cultural impact and the influence on the attitudes towards multicultural education. They examine factors like the department the teacher works in, high school background, and international friendships, if they have any friends from other countries. And the study aims to enhance the multicultural applications in teacher training and promote a more inclusive educational approach. The research design they used was a relational scanning model, which is a quantitative research model, and it was used to explore the cause and effect connection between the thoughts of multicultural education and the perception of globalization. Their research method aimed to find a relationship between variables and infer causation. They found that the teachers' candidates' attitudes towards multicultural education were considered the dependent variable, and they used the perceptions of globalization as the independent variable. When it comes to their research sample, they used 1,090 teacher candidates from departments of preschool education and primary school education in the 2015 to 2016 school year. The sample group of this study population was 213 teacher candidates from ULUDAG University, and 113 of those were preschool education and 110 were primary school, representing 20% of the total population of the study group. The research was conducted at this university as well, because it included a wide variety of students from various regions of the country. They only chose candidates from preschool and primary school rather than middle and high school because they found that these departments were early education and they shaped our perception and attitudes of multicultural education. The sample was selected using simple random sampling, and of the candidates, 86.9% were female and 13.1% were male, and 68.1% of these had friends from different countries. Of the sample, there was also 17.8% that graduated from general high schools, 44.6% from Anatolian high schools, and 37.1% from teacher high schools. The research instrument they used. So in the study's personal information form, that's what they used to gather all the information they needed. They used a scale of attitude towards multicultural education and then a scale of perceptions of cultural effect of globalization. The form was created by the researchers and included questions on gender, the department they worked in, the high school they graduated from, like the type of high school, and if they had friends from other countries and relationships with people from other countries. The scale of the attitude towards multicultural education was a 5-point Likert scale consisting of 20 items. And Cronbach's alpha coefficient was determined at 0.71. Thus, as long as the score from the scale increased, the positive attitude of the individual increased. The scale of perceptions regarding the cultural effect of globalization was also completed on a 5-point Likert scale and consisted of 35 items in 3 parts, and it was determined to be 0.76. So the data analysis. So descriptive statistics were used to analyze the primary school and the preschool education students' attitudes towards multicultural education and their perception on globalization. An SPSS 20.0 was used for data analysis with the Kolmogorov-Smirnov test to confirm normal distribution for non-parametric statistics techniques. The MW and KWH tests were also used in order to determine the attitudes and perceptions and if they differed based on high school background, department they worked on, and having friends of different cultures. The Pearson correlation coefficient was also used to examine the relationship between globalization and their attitudes, and hierarchical regression explored these relationships with the department, high school type, and international friends as covariates. In conclusion, perceptions of globalization's cultural impact were entered as the primary predictor, and overall the study aimed to understand how the variables influence the attitudes of multicultural education and the perception of globalization among teacher candidates. The results of their studies found that teacher candidates showed a wide range of attitudes towards multicultural education and their overall perceptions of globalization. The scores ranged from 53 all the way to 95 and for multicultural education, and then from 33 to 120 for globalization. The average score for multicultural education was 75.34 and globalization was 94.82. The MW test they used revealed that there was no significant difference between perceptions between primary and preschool teachers or in their attitudes towards multiculturalization, depending on the department. They did, however, find a significant difference in perceptions of globalization based on the high school they graduated from. So the high school that they graduated from significantly affected their attitudes towards multicultural education. When they looked at the difference between primary and preschool education teacher candidates, they found that there was no large difference between the attitudes towards multicultural education. However, they did find that the primary school teacher candidates that had friends from different countries had different attitudes than those that did not. The perceptions of teacher candidates towards the cultural effect did not vary significantly based on having friends from different countries, which is kind of interesting that the attitudes changed, but the perceptions didn't change based on having friends of different countries. They also found that there is a low level positive relationship between attitudes towards multicultural education, and they found that having friends from different countries did not contribute to the overall model, but the perceptions of cultural effect of globalization did significantly impact attitudes towards multicultural education. So the implications for education of this article and the findings that they had were that they aimed to we could use this to prepare students to live together and cooperate towards common goals, common beliefs, and acceptance. Teacher candidates' attitudes could be used to influence their perceptions on cultural effects of globalization, and demographic variables do not predict attitudes, but the perceptions of globalization do. They also found that departments of teacher candidates can also impact attitudes towards multiculturalization. So figuring out what departments are more affected versus others we could use to help better teach these teacher candidates. Overall, teacher candidates may support multiculturalization, but they do lack sufficient competence in the field. So they say by having friends from different countries, it positively affects their attitudes, as proven by Kreuzer and Aimee study. Teachers with foreign teachers also show positive attitudes, and studies suggest that teacher candidates need specialized multicultural education to succeed. So key points of the article was it was found that teacher candidates' attitudes towards multicultural education and globalization is influenced by the department in which they teach, the type of high school they graduated from, and if they have friends from different countries. My discussion questions are, do you agree or disagree with the suggestion that multicultural education training should be included in every course at every level of teacher education programs? And do you think this would make a significant difference on teacher candidate perceptions? Number 2, do you think that a teacher's perceptions on multiculturalism and globalization affect their teaching in the classroom? And if so, in what ways? Thank you. Have a good day.